Well, good morning, everybody. My name's Kurt Carlson. Today's briefing is really going to explore how Redmap5 can improve document automation within the business and how you as clients, Redmap clients, can actually leverage your existing purchase in the Redmap software by looking at some of the more extended features that come with this new version. We will be keeping this as brief as possible. I'm very mindful of everyone's time. So literally at this point in time, we're going to try and keep it to under 10, 15 minutes. I'm mindful of also the fact that there's a number of people who have been to a couple of the other sessions. So just bear with us on this, that we may be recapping a little bit of things that we've been through in previous sessions. Okay, so today we're going to start with a bit of a look back in time. Many of our clients have been with us for 10 years plus, and so there is a bit of a history there as to where Redmap's come from and our product. We're then going to have a bit of a detailed look at Redmap5, what differences are between Redmap5 and the old Manage Point, and then jump into a live demo, which is always exciting. And then hopefully with time, just explore where we're going, what the next steps are, etc. Okay, so for those of you who have been clients for, as I said, 10 years or so, you may recall we had a product called Doctree 2000, which morphed into Manage Easy. Doctree was a very simple product. It was image-based only. It really just provided a sort of a field-based searching capability, had no web access, and was very limited in its scalability because it was written on an Access database. So our client base at that point in time was constrained really to small business. We then, in the early sort of mid-2000s, we brought out probably our biggest jump in product development at that point, which was Manage Point. And Manage Point was, as I said, it was a fundamental shift for us. It suddenly meant that the product was more scalable. We'd written it on a SQL database, which meant our client base pretty much changed at that point from very small business to small to medium. We started rolling out tens, if not hundreds of seats of Manage Point. We were able to handle all document formats. It wasn't just image only. It was everything from Word documents through to PDFs and TIFFs and spreadsheets, etc. And we introduced the whole concept of content searching, so that you could not only just find the actual document, but the words inside the document. And we started our first foray into the web with Manage Anywhere. And at the time, Manage Anywhere was a pretty pointy-ended product. Obviously, it's not anymore. And then along comes Redmap5. Now, Redmap5, a bit like Manage Point in its day, was a big jump for us. So about 2.5, 3 years ago, we looked at Manage Point. We realized that it was very much end of life. It was an old product. The code was getting a bit old. And so we had a choice. We either just sort of redid what we had already, or we went back to the drawing board, which is what we did. So, as I said, 2.5 years ago, we made the decision to start from scratch, and we've been completely rewritten the product, Redmap5 now. And that comes with a whole lot of really good advantages. I mean, it did take a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to actually do that. But the reality is we now have a very clean, very efficient product written in the latest of all toolkits, written with capabilities that we would never have dreamed of with Manage Point. So first of all, a bit of a snapshot about Redmap5. It's 100% browser-based. It's written in a language, without getting too technical, HTML5, which means it's completely device agnostic. It'll run on any platform from an Android tablet, smartphone, through to an Apple Mac or a PC. Because it's web-based, it also is cloud-ready. Now, we offer this as a cloud subscription service to a lot of our clients, and that's an area we are becoming more and more involved in. But because it's web-based, it'll run on your cloud, our cloud, in your data center, and our data center. It doesn't actually matter. Because it's web-based and because it's written in HTML5, it also is mobile-ready. So we're finding now that more and more of our clients' workforce is becoming mobile. A lot of people are no longer tied to the office. They work from wherever they work. And so having access to whatever they need, particularly from a documents point of view, from anywhere in the world has become critical. A lot of the people that we have as part of bigger processes like approvers and people who are doing things as part of an approval process or a workflow are often just sitting on the end of a tablet as opposed to a computer. They might be project managers or site managers or whatever. And so because of that, they need to be mobile capable. So Redmap5 is very much into mobility. And also because of this web capability, we have for a while provided portal capability to our clients, allowing not just people within the business, but external stakeholders to access the documents securely. And now this has become an actual integral part of the whole of Redmap5. So the whole portal concept is now delivered via Redmap5, which we'll go through in a bit more detail. And probably the biggest thing that we've brought to the table with this release is the ability to access the information in the database by way of reports. So reporting is becoming probably the #1 reason people buy software nowadays, is just visibility and transparency. And Redmap5 delivers pretty unlimited almost, unlimited reporting capability. So every table in the database is available to a report writer, and those reports can be generated in a myriad of different formats, ranging from sort of graphical widgets, pie charts, bar charts, etc., through to line reports and downloadable to spreadsheets and things like that. Being web-based, it's completely customizable, so the interface can be changed, the layout can be changed, the look and feel can be changed, colors changed, logos added, etc. So it can be very much, if you wanted it to be embedded into your existing web presence. And then finally, we introduced our workflow, which we call MyWorks, which is really what we're about today. So MyWorks has been around for a while. The workflow capability we've had for probably 3 years, but we've decided to integrate this completely into Redmap5, so all clients have access to this now. So all current clients, for example, clients who are under current maintenance, have access to the software as of right now. And so this is an opportunity, as I said, to look at your current investment and determine whether maybe doing some automation around document processing, etc., will help. Okay, so MyWorks, in essence, it's an area you can go to either via your computer or your phone or whatever, where you can view documents that are part of a workflow. You can approve them, you can edit them and comment on them before pushing it on to the next step in the workflow. So today we're going to talk predominantly around accounts payable automation or approving of supplier or vendor invoices, only because that's what the demo has been set up to look like. But the reality is any document that comes into your business that can be identified, that currently goes through a set of hands before it gets filed, can be automated. And so that process is no longer a process that's paper-based, is like invisible. You don't know where stuff is at any point in time. It becomes part of a process. It becomes very transparent. You know where stuff's at, and more importantly, you can add rules and escalation points and all sorts of stuff to the process so that things just happen. They don't just end up sitting in someone's intro for days or weeks or months. All right, so as I said, MyWorks is going to be what we really concentrate on today. All right, so we're ticking along for time. So as I said, I'm going to use one particular workflow, which is our invoice processing workflow, accounts payable processing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that process. And the way the process works, for example, from an invoice point of view, is the invoices come into the business in a myriad of different ways. They can come in as hard copy, they can come in as email attachments, they can be faxed, and etc. And we have a bunch of tools there that will pull the data off the invoices, find the ABN number, find the purchase order number, etc. And using that data, and this is all pretty much a background process a lot of the time, so there's at this point no people involved. So at that point, we pull this data off the invoice, and then we use that data to match what's in the finance system. So the next important factor is the fact that we need to be able to integrate into your back-end processing. So you currently have an ERP system or a finance system or a CRM or whatever. So we've developed a whole bunch of plugins, we call them connectors, that connect into the finance system, for example. And we use the data that we've found off the invoice to look up the finance system and try and match that data. So we'll find the ABN number on the invoice, we'll match the ABN number in the finance system and try and match that so we know who the vendor is, and then we also look for the purchase order. So if there is a purchase order, we'll match that, etc. Now, reality is that doesn't happen all the time because A, people don't use purchase order all the time, their purchase orders aren't up to date, they aren't accurate, or whatever. So literally, it'll either go through a process here which is pretty straightforward, and then the data is ready to be posted into your ERP, or, as what happens probably most of the time, we can't find purchase order. There are the rules then click in to say, okay, based on the ABN, it's a Redmap invoice. The manager responsible for that invoice is Billy Bloggs. His spend limit's $5,000. This is a default coding for that invoice being an IT expense, et cetera, et cetera. So a whole bunch of rules click in based on maybe just reading the ABN number, and then that invoice gets put into a workflow and the relevant parties get notified. So the first approver, being the IT manager, for example, will automatically be generated an email saying click on this link. It directs him to the portal, which I'll show you in a sec, and he can approve, reject or whatever, add to or whatever. And that workflow process can be as many steps and hops as necessary. So it can be very simple, very complex. It can be a whole bunch of different rules and different parameters and metrics that go into that, until finally the document is approved and the data is ready for posting into the finance system. And we're almost like the fries. It's almost like like a byproduct of the whole process. We also file the documents electronically so you can get them back quicker. All right, so that's the process. Now, as I said, today it's going to be sort of focusing on supplier invoices, but the reality is it could be sales orders. We do a lot in HR with leave forms and expense management and all sorts of different documents that currently need to go through a set of hands before they can get approved, and people need to check them and check off a checklist, for example. That's what workflow is. Okay, so let me just hop out of there. I'm now going to get into my browser. So I'm sitting here. This is Redmap5. First of all, it is just a website, whether it's a website that sits in our environment or yours or whatever, but being a website, it means that A, it's completely customizable. You can change the look and feel, etc. if you want to. All right? So I'm going to log in to this, to Redmap5. It's going to take me straight to my searching capability, and so pretty much what I'm presented with is some search fields. Again, this was covered off at a previous session, but you have a searching capability from the web. But more importantly, there's this little tab here called My Works. Now, My Works is the workflow hub, and this is really what we're about today. And so, what My Works provides the end user. Let me just get into an applicable database here. So I'm going to get into an accounts payable database. And let's pretend I'm an approver manager out there in the company land. There are thousands of invoices going through an approval process at the moment, and I've been assigned these as the approver collaborator to approve this invoice. So what you're presented with as an approver, you'll get an email generated on a daily basis or whatever basis you deem is the correct frequency, and I'm then directed into this portal, and I'm presented with a copy of the invoice that I need to approve. There's a list of all the different invoices that I need to approve at the top up here, okay? And over here is the header information of the invoice. Now, this is what's been captured off the invoice, as I said, by a number of different means. We offer OCR capabilities. We offer a full service where our people in the Philippines key this information for you. There's a whole bunch of different ways that we can actually get the data off the invoice, but the reality is you're presented with that header information. But more importantly, you're also presented with line information. So let's pretend that there wasn't a PO for this, and I need to split this invoice between a bunch of different codes or different general ledger codes. So we also have what we call the invoice line items. Now, as you can see over here, we've already provided information on what's on the actual invoice as one line. But if I actually want to, for example, change that and actually split it between a couple of different line items, all I need to do is go into, for example, this amount here. I'll say $1,000 I want to associate to that particular line item that's been automatically applied, which is marketing. And when I click on enter, it's going to straight away say, well, that doesn't add up. All right, so it's going to send, and I can't post that until obviously it's balanced. And so now I can add another line. It automatically totals that line for me, and I can apply it to a different code. Okay, and I'll just pick one at random. Okay, obviously the codes that I would be using are only the codes that I need to have access to, and they would be the codes coming out of your ERP system. But it's got smarts, and as I said, that automatically total, etc., etc. So it'll only post a balanced invoice. Over here, I've got a copy of the invoice. There's a bunch of little buttons in here that allow me to do several different things depending on who I am as an actor in the actual workflow process. So I can approve, I can reject, I can give it to someone else. And this is all based on who I am as far as being an approver in the process. So it might be that I approve this invoice, but in actual fact I can only spend up to $1,000, and it's telling me down here that the invoice is for $2,000. And so because of that, it'll then go to the next approver, and on until it's gone through its proper rules-based process. As I said, the interface itself is very customizable. You can change the layout of this in any way, shape, or form that you want. I might want to change that line items and put it up the top here. So I'll go, okay, I actually want to make that up there now. And suddenly now my line items are across the top here. Easy for me to see. Or move it back to where it was before. So the idea behind this is you can pretty much change the layout in any shape or form that you really want to do with depending on the screen size, whether it's on a tablet, whatever. Okay, so that's the approving part of it. And as I said, these are all completely customized. That the buttons could be made to look different depending on who you are. The whole layout of the screen can be changed, and obviously depending on what actual process we're talking about. In this case, it's invoices, but if it was sales orders, it would be a different look and feel. It would be different actors. There would be different rules, etc. Okay, and then sort of to finish off with, as I'm mindful up to now 18 minutes or so, reporting, as I said, was probably one of the reasons most people buy software nowadays. It's just transparency. And a lot of processes in a business now are very manual, paper-based. There is zero transparency. So at any one point in time, you don't know the status of documents and where things are at. Now, as I said, it's very easy now on your dashboard to create these widgets. They can be any different number of different formats. But straight away, let's pretend again on this accounts payable manager, I can immediately see out of the hundreds of invoices that are going through the system that there's a huge spike here. There's a whole bunch of them that are pending approval. I can see that there's 8 that are new. And by clicking on that, it'll take me straight through to the actual source document. So they're not only reports, but they're reports that you can then access the information that actually generated the reports to start with. And so you've got all these click-through capabilities where you can access the actual reports at the end of the day as well. And you can access other source documents as well. All right. These reports can be generated in multiple different sort of formats. I've got a pretty standard sort of a bar chart, but I can also have pie charts and stuff as well. Okay, so as you can see, there's been a lot done with Redmap5, and a lot has been done around external access, reporting, just visibility, and ease of use. I mean, this is running live. This is on our data center here in Sydney, and it's as quick as I'm showing you. This is the reality. Okay, so where to from here? So, as I said, we'd like to spend some time. There's a whole bunch of other functionality that is already in the wings. We purposely released this first version of Redmap5 as being very simple, for the reason that we have to try and get as many clients across to this as soon as possible, so it makes everyone's lives easier. And if we'd added too much functionality, the change would have been too big a deal. The reality is we have the tool sets that we are now writing the software in, and the technology around it means that we have a whole range of new things that we can now bring to the table that will make life easier for our clients, that will just make sense, and they're already sitting there ready to be dropped into the software. So we have a very aggressive upgrade path for this. Primarily looking at things like mobility and reporting, transparency, etc. We'd love to talk to you about that. We'd love to see as many of you migrating across to Redmap5, and also exploring some of the automation capabilities that you will get as a current client if you move to Redmap5. It's a bit of an education process, but I think we need to start thinking more about automation and less about just archiving, because really you're going to get your biggest return by looking at automating some of the processes you currently manually do. Very much appreciate your time today. If you want more information, either give us a call or also visit our website. The website has been completely redone as well as part of this whole process, and the website has a bunch of new information on it and case studies, etc., that you will find of interest. I very much appreciate your time today. Thank you for your time. If there are any questions, just bounce us an email. We'll get back to you as soon as we can, and we hope to catch up with you again soon. Thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.